Hello, students who are studying Edexcel Certificate English Language. This is for my Year 10s primarily as a feedback from their end-of-year exam. However, Year 11 students who are about to take their exams would find this very helpful. This is going over Paper 1 from January 2014, which has been emailed to all the students at Year 11 students at Upton Court Grammar School. Now, top tip from me, and you've heard this many times from myself and from your English teachers, timing. So important that you watch your time. So take the first 5 minutes of the exam to familiarize yourself with the paper. Go through, read some of the questions, see what they're being asked of you, formulate your evil plan. How are you going to attack this exam? Then, here's some advice. Section A, take 40 minutes, because obviously you've lost the 5 minutes from the 45 if you familiarize yourself with your paper. So you've got 40 minutes. 20 minutes to read the nonfiction and then answer the short questions. Don't waste time annotating it for trappers until you've looked at the questions and you know exactly what they want you to look for. Then 20 minutes to write your answer to the essay question. Okay? Again, don't waste time annotating it to death if you're not going to use all of those annotations. Then 45 minutes, section B. Divide it into half. You've got 22 minutes to read and annotate your Anthology A piece and write your essay on it, and then 22 minutes for you to do the writing question. Then section C, one essay only. This is the big one, remember, okay? So it's going to look longer than your other essays. That's to be expected. And this is the one that's 20 marks or a third of your exam, okay? You need to take 5 to 10 minutes to plan, okay? Then 30 minutes to write this, and then 10 minutes to check over it. Remember, you're being marked on spelling, punctuation, grammar, sentence choice, all of that stuff. So take the 10 minutes to go back in and finesse your writing, okay? All right, let's start from the top. Tippy top, top, top. Okay. To remind you, this is what the exam looks like. The 2014 exam had this, really interesting, engaging piece about a visit to the docks. Just to remind you which one we're talking about. Now, for these short little questions, they are testing you to see if you can read for information. All right, so you look at the questions, make sure that you look at those key words in the questions. These are just words and phrases you're giving. They do not even need to be sentences, okay? If they give you line numbers like number 2 does here, make sure you use information from the lines that they give you. Okay. Question 1, you can see the 2 choices that you could have had there. And question number 2, quite a few choices, and you just needed 2 of those. Okay. Don't take time writing down the whole sentence with the example. If you write down the whole sentence, you have to underline the word that is the actual answer, okay? So just write down the actual word or the actual phrase. Moving swiftly on. Okay, the in your own words question. Now, they want to see if you can read something and put it into your own words. This is a 5-mark question. This one says, describe the character of Robert. When it asks you about character, they want to know what you think about personality. So for 5 marks, make 5 points. Those points are made up of adjectives to describe his personality. Okay? Now you can't just say, he is curious, courageous, distinct, dynamic, and zany. You have to prove it from the text. Okay? So you could say, at first Robert seems quite shy. However, he becomes more confident, etc., etc. Okay? Just make sure it's in your own words. Right, here are loads of things that you could have picked out for that one. If you're interested in this, you can come back to this part of the presentation. We're going to move on. Question number 4. This is the essay about the nonfiction that they've given you. It'll be something about how does the writer try to engage the reader, or how is the reader interested in the passage. Now, first of all, for this one, okay, you're simply PEE. Over and over, PEE. Now, before we actually look at this, what we need to think about is, what does it mean when a reader is engaged? Well, what it means is that a reader is interested. And if you're interested in it, you need to come up with why they're interested in it, not just the reader is interested so they read on. Please, those of you going for A-star, which I hope most of you are, Read for reading on, oh, just leave it out, please leave it out. So think about specific reasons why a reader is interested. Maybe they identify with what is happening in the text, or they identify with a character. Perhaps they find it humorous. They might find it funny, so that's why they're engaged. Maybe because they're interested because of the knowledge that they're gaining from it. Or maybe they feel sympathy for a character, and that makes them engaged. Any of these emotions that you see over here on the side can be connected into why the reader is engaged. Okay, back to the question. It says, how does the writer try to engage the reader? You should write about. They want you to use those bullet points, so please use them. Bullet point 1, how he describes sights, sounds, and smells. Okay, that and tells us that they want all three of those. How the writer describes Hercules and the pigs. Okay, so both of those. And then words, phrases, and techniques which the writer uses. Now, this is a 12-mark question. The easiest way to look at it, okay, is for each one of those bullet points, use 4 examples, 4 bits of evidence, 4 bits of or explanation, right? So here's an example for this one. Now, the writer engaged the reader when he described the sights, sounds, and smells of the docks. Okay, simple point sentence there. He is amazed by the size of the shed and uses personification to describe the shed as big enough to swallow up. Another sight is the description of how Robert changes into a different creature. All of these sights engage the reader because they find them surprising. So that's specific analysis, not just it makes them want to read on. Okay. Now, the sounds reveal chaos, with boxes were banged about and workers cursing and shouting. The reader may sympathize with Robert, so that's why they're engaged. The smells of the pig make Robert ill, and the triad, gagged, felt sick, and nervous, may disgust the reader. Okay, so that is an example of the kind of paragraph that you need to write for number 4. You need to show that you're interpreting the text and that you've thought about effect. Okay, but they want to see as many examples as possible. Similar for number 5, okay, now this is for section B. You've read the anthology A text they've given you. In January 2014, it was Chinese Cinderella, okay. Now, you have to look at the questions carefully. Some of my students wrote about the writer's thoughts and feelings, but did not write about what those thoughts and feelings had to do with her father, and you had to write about what her thoughts and feelings for her father were, okay. Now, use a similar format to number 4, 3 paragraphs with 4 bits of evidence, explanations in each. 3 paragraphs that you could have used for this one would be that she fears her father, she respects her father, and she has lots of thoughts about her own future. So those are just 3 examples. There are other ones you could use. Now, you'll see that I've color-coded this. Okay, the 4 bits in blue are the evidence. The bits in green are the explanations, the analysis. Okay, this would be 1 paragraph, and this would be your 4 points in that paragraph. I'm not going to take time to read that to you. You can come back and have a look at it in your own time. Now, for this one, again, it's P, EA, 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 and then the same for the next formula. Okay, those of you that have learned Pearl, if you think about it, the analysis here, such as this could be interpreted by the reader as acceptable as she is showing respect, is basically your R of Pearl. Okay, and you don't need to link it because your point sentences are going to be brilliant and they will link to the question. Right, moving swiftly on. These are things that you could have picked out. Come back to this slide when you are revising Chinese Cinderella. It has lots of good information for you. All right, question 6. So still in section B here, 22 minutes now to answer this. Okay, keep that in mind. Write a speech to be given to a youth organization informing them about somebody in your life who's had a strong influence on you. Now, this is a 10-mark question. You make sure that you're writing the correct format, a speech, correct audience, a youth organization, and then the correct topic. So you're informing them about someone in your life. Now, here is the mark scheme. You've got to make sure that you do these things. And part of it includes making sure that you're using a variety of punctuation. So a quick reminder of these 3 types of punctuation. Okay, so colon, the dash, and the semicolon. Now, what you need to think about, what you need to think about with the writing. You know that you need to use a variety of punctuation. I don't want you to panic during the exam halfway through writing your answer and think, oh, I haven't used a semicolon. Where am I going to use a semicolon? I wish I'd used a semicolon. What is a semicolon? I don't want you doing any of that. What I want you to do is finish the exam, then go back and see where you could add your bits of punctuation in. Okay? All right. Next and finally, or for those of you that follow my advice, maybe you are handling this part of it first. Section C, 45 minutes. Here is the question from January 2014. Magazine article explaining which time of year you like best and why. Make sure you get that and in there. You may choose to write about. Now, you don't have to use these bullet points. Frankly, I think it's easier to because it gives you all the ideas right there for what you could include. Now, like I said on the second slide, make sure you take a good 5 to 10 minutes to plan what you're going to include in this. And what I like to include on my planning sheet is I write a little reminder to myself to use punctuation, a variety of. I make myself a little note of trappers, which stands for the different devices that you can use, and then actually start thinking about how you're going to write about this. Okay, take a good 30 minutes to write about it, and then 5 to 10 minutes to check it over. Now, to sum up, steps to success for this exam. Make sure that no matter what the writing question is, you're writing in the correct format. If it says speech, address your audience within the first sentence or so. So for the previous example, let's say that you are a youth organization, so you could say, thank you for inviting me to speak to your youth organization. I'm here today to talk to you about blah, blah, blah. Okay. Secondly, make sure you write to the correct audience. Third, make sure you write about the correct topic, so read the question carefully. That's part of the planning. Now, for what you're going to include, and this goes for any of the writing questions, paragraphs, and you can also, for a higher answer, you can make sure that you have a variety of sizes of paragraphs, some shorter than others, maybe a one-sentence paragraph for dramatic effect. Make sure you write a variety of sentences, so some simple sentences, compound sentences, complex sentences. Again, if you don't know what those are, I don't want you to be panicking. I want you to just write out your essay, and then when you have time at the end to check, go back and see if every sentence starts with I. If every sentence starts with I, you need to change that around and start the sentence off with an adverb or a connective, for example. Number 3, variety of punctuation. Number 4, copious amounts of devices, lots and lots, okay? So use those, we've taught you trappers and devices, not just so that you can find them when reading, but that you can use them in your own writing, okay? So use them, adjectives, adverbs, rhetorical questions, lists of 3, quotes and statistics. And remember, all those things don't have to be true. They're looking to see how you can incorporate them into your writing. And impressive, such as copious, vocabulary. All right, again, don't panic if you think the vocabulary hasn't been brilliant enough. Wait till the end, go back, and include it. One thing that I've told my students that I like to do when I'm writing is that if I'm not happy with a word, instead of just sitting there for 5 minutes thinking about another word that I could use, I just circle it and then come back to all my circled words later to change them, okay? Right. Really best of luck on your exams, and Year 10s who are watching this. I hope you come back to this in Year 11 as you get ready for that exam. Ad Astra!